Oh, hello, yeah. Well, good grief. I'm going to make a bold statement. It's cold. Just isn't fun, is it, anymore? No. Was it ever fun? Anyway, yes. Yesterday, a very odd piece. I thought it was like an odd piece. It felt like something, I don't know, metaphorically, it was like reading something off of LinkedIn, except without all of the humour or interest. There was this from Sam Coates, deputy political editor of Sky and Analysis. If stuff doesn't work for Starmer, the vibes will be out of control. Yes, me neither. Does anybody actually use the word vibes? I don't know. Anyway, the biggie lingering question for Sir Keir Starmer is not about vibes and not about personnel. It's about whether any of it will actually work. Yes. And they sort of go on and sort of mumbling about sort of Andy Burnham and black holes and whether or not Sir Keir Starmer might actually do something which might be described as leadership. But reading between the lines, you do get the feeling that there's a huge amount of nothing at the centre of government, which is perhaps neatly also ties us in with the idea of LinkedIn, because if ever you were to distill the very essence of how excruciatingly nothing LinkedIn is, you would end up with Sir Keir Starmer. I'm reminded of somebody I used to, well, indeed live with a number of decades ago, who has taken on that whole sort of technocratic thing that you see on there, whereby it's all Keir Starmer's very expensive glasses and just that kind of language of management, whereby, everything is flow diagrams and functions. And, the rest of us, I don't know, perhaps do exist with vibes. But the problem for the Labour Party is that its vibes, as far as I'm concerned, is stuff that I'm just desperately don't want to know about. I'm not interested in them writing for The Sun, because I don't want to read stuff in The Sun. They shouldn't be, writing stuff for The Sun. And I don't want to read articles from them in the Daily Telegraph, because they shouldn't be, playing that stupid game. They're going to convince nobody that might vote for them via the Daily Telegraph or the Daily Mail or The Sun to do anything at all. Yeah? And now we're sort of like we've now got this kind of, well, let's try and appeal to reform voters who aren't going to vote for Labour anyway by suggesting that we'll be the ones to, get rid of 400,000 people somehow or other. I mean, that's a hell of a long plane or ship, really, isn't it? But vibes, I don't know, vibes. Yeah, the vibes are worrying me, because it just strikes me as there is a whole bunch of people, which is basically what Sam Coates was saying, at the centre of government that have no idea of policy whatsoever. That was the thrust of his piece, if you like. And Keir Starmer neatly sums that up, this idea that you can just have somebody in a suit and says, oh, well, we'll just kind of do whatever we were doing in the 90s because, Mandelson says it will still work, even though, we're 3 decades on from it or something. It's just very strange. And there's no way that this stuff can possibly work. Even if there was some magical master plan, there's no way it can work, because when you're faced with the reality of things, we end up with, well, the reality of things, don't we? And perhaps the best metaphor for that was baying crowds at the golf. Yeah? Just that's what you get with modern politics, this emotion, the vibe, if you like, is people feeling in America that they can just yelp and throw things, in essence, at foreigners, which is just awful. But people feel that they can do it. They've been allowed by their leaders, and we are drifting into that kind of territory in the UK as well. It's just this nastiness of everything that's out there. And whenever you actually point this stuff out, right, okay, the problem with our British media is they say, oh no, we don't want to play that game. We have to play the let's pretend it's 1995 game. So, there was this in the Daily Telegraph, playing the race card is grotesque. Over the past 3 decades, immigration has soared, raising legitimate concerns do not deserve to be smeared. Except, of course, an awful lot of people aren't raising legitimate concerns. They're just racists, or they're playing a race card themselves, because most of the stuff that Farage and Tice and the rest of them come out with aren't realistically legitimate concerns. They are just simple, blunt vibes on racism. That's all it is, isn't it? Because Farage has no plan for the economy. It's just, oh, we give loads of tax cuts to rich people. And the astonishing thing is that the Labour Party, rather than taking the fight to them and saying that won't work, have prepared to say, yeah, no, we'll do that as well, and we'll get rid of loads of foreigners, and we'll give the police more powers to pack down on people that are woke. I mean, it's astounding to me that they honestly believe that the way that they can gain somehow support is by totally abandoning those people who somehow, by hook or by crook, are still managing to support them. No, it's not me, indeed. But they are out there. But how long is it before those vibes really do start vibrating too much for these people? I don't know. For people like me, I just lost any form of faith in the ability of the Labour Party to do anything, roughly speaking, 3 years ago, if not more. There's a whole world out there, and we know what's coming. It's going to be a culture crash shock in terms of political circles, because Sam Coates, I think, along with most of the other political commentators there in the Westminster bubble, have no real idea of quite what's coming down the road at them, if nothing else. Meanwhile, of course, the technocrats will sit very, very, very high up in the tower block above the hoi polloi on the streets and won't see any of it. And I don't know. There is part of me that's quite pleased about that. Anyway, do have a glorious day. Do stay warm if you can do. And all that stuff. Enjoy.